Well, it's game on. On the steps of Downing Street, Theresa May accused the EU of fiddling in the general election, of hardening their stance just as Brexit negotiations got underway and not wanting Britain to prosper. Meanwhile, the president of the Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, says Theresa is on another galaxy and says he left a Downing Street din-dins last week 10 times more sceptical of a happy divorce after the last port than he did before his first aperitif. Both sides then admit that the differences on everything, frankly, do seem profound. No deal seems more likely than a bad deal, even though it's in everyone's interest that a deal is achieved. Which all reminds me, panel, of why I became a paid-up member of the Lib Dems last week. Yes, you may shake your head, Nick, and I do know the Lib Dems won't win, but they're the only party with a clear strategy for tackling the hard Brexit that Theresa and co are heading for. They're offering a second referendum if we do get a deal, thus giving this country one last chance to stop a historic mistake becoming a national tragedy.
Well, when I heard last week that Rachel Johnson had made a surprise decision, I thought you'd left Waitrose and gone to Aldi or something like that. I didn't realise it was this profound. So if Boris Johnson called Mr Corbyn a mugwump, what did he call you when he heard?
As I wrote last Sunday, he thinks I've lost the plot.
Lost your remaining marble.
He lost me, and he's waiting, but I'm afraid he's going to have to wait with bated breath for a few more weeks before I write the column saying, he's right, the Lib Dems are a wobbling jelly of indecision. The funniest comment, though, came from my older son, who came back from a weekend in Brussels, and he said, "Mum, what's been going on? Is it true you've entered politics to spend more time with your family?" I said, "No, darling, I'm not allowed to, because you have to be a member for a year." But listen, Nick, I'm glad you asked this question, because it is a protest vote on one issue for this election that I have done this. Obviously, I know the Lib Dems aren't going to win, but I think it's important that we don't just head over a cliff without looking first. OK,
well, we better say the Lib Dems probably would put it rather differently. They probably characterise it they could win, so we need to get that out there. So this is all on the idea of a second referendum, OK, on the deal. When would that be held?
Well, we don't know when the deal is going to be.
You've just deserted a party of your father, your brothers, and God knows what else.
No, I haven't been a member of the Tory party since 2011.
OK, all right. So tell me when the referendum will be held.
Well, when there's a deal on the table.
What, so after the 2 years?
Yes, well, when... I don't know when the deal... Listen, Nick,
so
when
you don't know when...
No, Nick, sorry, nobody knows when we're going to get a deal. It could be. We don't know if it's going to be by the time that Article 50 clock expires in March 2019. We don't know that.
I'm sorry, but I really object to this. I object to the idea that the Conservatives somehow own Rachel, that because her father and her brothers are Conservative, she somehow owes this duty of loyalty. Politics is about principles. Rachel's standing up for what she believes in. It's an issue of, I think, existential importance for the country. You're asking her questions. It's unfair to ask a voter. She's saying that she's now supporting Lib Dem. She's a member.
Because she wants a second... If I
as
remember your
many people who voted Remain do.
To avoid a historic mistake, I think, to quote you directly. So why... I'm just asking a how much or what or when question. When are we going to hold it?
We don't know. Listen, we don't know whether we're going to have transitional arrangements post-2019. We don't know when the timetable is going to expire, when the deal is going to eventuate. But when that happens, Theresa May has said Parliament can have another look. But I don't think the vote in Parliament is going to be meaningful. I think it's going to be a tick, which is why, of course, she wants a landslide victory in this forthcoming general election, so that she knows that whatever the deal is, she can get it through, which is why the country has to have another look at it.
So the country says no, so effectively we've played best of three. What happens then?
If the country says no again, which I think they probably... I don't know what's going to happen.
So you hang on.
All I'm saying is...
So you want a referendum, but you don't know when.
I know...
You want a referendum, you don't know the question, and you don't know what happens as a result.
No.
Enjoy the Lib Dems.
No.
You are a perfect fit.
Nick, you're being unfair.
You are being completely unfair. You're making this procedural when it's existential.
Yes, the government doesn't know when there's going to be a deal.
Precisely.
All you can say is, when there is a deal, if there is one, we ought to have a vote on it again.
But do you
because we then know what the deal was. But I mean, what I'm more interested in is everyone keeps now talking, and after last week it looks more like there's no deal. What does no deal actually mean?
Well,
Nick, walk away under WTO
yes,
rules.
Yes, but so do we...
Carol, do you want to set those out, actually?
Do we
what they
pay
are,
the 60
what that's going to
billion
mean
or
for our
not?
GDP?
Or the 100 billion, or whatever they say we owe, do we pay it or not? And what's the legality of that? I don't know.
But I'm interested in this week. Has this week not been a bit of a game changer for you? When you see what's been happening with the EU, with the officials, with the bureaucracy on the EU, how they've tried to discredit this country in the most appalling way, trash and discredit us. They've tried to make our Prime Minister look like she's losing the plot, like she doesn't know what she's doing. Has that not... I think this has changed the game a little bit in the sense it's no longer leavers and remainers. It's people who are on the side of this country and people who are siding with the EU. And I think this will change a lot of remainers and put them not necessarily on the side of the leavers, but on the side of Britain.
I think you're right. Your Juncker did Theresa May's job for her by saying, you know, he made out that Europe was a bullying bureaucrecy trying to tell Britain what to do and not allowing Britain a fair shout. No, that was the brilliant messaging that came out of that dinner. Theresa May's Downing Street must have been absolutely thought it was Christmas.
And what was
because it actually completely moved the argument away. And Theresa May, I'm afraid, has used it as a non sequitur, just as she used having a general election as a non... It's not... you can't say we need a general election in order to strengthen our hand in Europe.
What was odd about that dinner
the two things are different.
When Juncker came out, he said it had all gone very well. He was smiling. He said it was really good. And then the next morning, after a 7 a.m. call to Mrs Merkel, it was all different then. And one can't help but think that was a bit planned, because from people who were in that dinner, they're saying nothing was discussed that he didn't already know. So it just sounds like it's been a setup to discredit her.
Yeah.
I just don't agree with this. I don't think it's ideal the way that these leaks came out and the various responses to them. But the fact is, the EU have made it quite plain from the beginning that there are various red lines for them that they want to establish before they get into negotiating detail, like the exit bill, like the rights of EU citizens in the UK. The government knew that this was a priority for the EU, and by being completely intransigent and boorish on these issues, they have refused to engage with those issues.
There is nothing in law or in any treaty that says we have to pay £100 billion. Nothing. This is a figure...
The EU haven't said that we have to pay £100 billion. That was a figure that was dreamt up by the Financial Times.
Well, no, I think everybody accepts there's a figure of somewhere
between 60... There is a figure, of course
there is nothing in law or any legal treaty that says we have to pay anything, and yet they're insisting that we do. Why?
But do we believe...
punish us?
I mean, I'm confused by the whole thing now, because I really don't understand...
I'm confused by life.
Yes, I know.
I'm confused by her, particularly.
Yes. No, I understand her. She makes sense. What I don't understand is... I mean, if you go into a negotiation, what I don't understand... I mean, with the Commissioner saying these are our lines, these are our red lines, you'd say, fine, let's assume we can get a deal on those. Now let's look at our red lines and try... That's what a negotiation is. And I think we're going to have to accept there's going to be some unpleasant things done by both sides in this sort of negotiation. What worries me is in the end you get no deal. And I just want someone to outline exactly what no deal means.
Well, we know what no deal means.
We don't. It's not just World Trade Organisation deal.
If we get no deal, I just want to go back to what you say. Why would we have to have another look? And I think it's because when we voted in June last year, what the country thought they were getting if they voted leave was a richer country with hard borders. And if we get no deal, I think we would have voted for a poorer country with no necessary controls on immigration. So it's an exact opposite of actually what people thought, which is in which case I think people should be given buyer's remorse.
That is why I think you're wrong, that I think all Remain voters are going to be looking at this and now feeling that to be patriotic is to side with Theresa May in this, because she's created this into a zero-sum game. No, the no-deal paradigm is completely unhelpful. We need a deal. We don't have all the bargaining chips in this negotiation.
You forget, we want to do a deal. They're making it impossible.
It's a very strange way
we want to do the deal.
Let's give it a chance.
Let's give it a chance. I wonder if I could just keep it nice and personal and come back to you. That's what I'm here to do. You are, whether you're a Liberal Democrat, I don't know, you are definitely socially liberal, because I know you. So how do you square that with the views of your party leader when it comes to homosexuality? Take a look at this.
Now, we all know that you don't think being gay is a sin, but do you think that having gay sex or being engaged in gay sex is sinful?
One's personal faith is one's personal faith. What counts is your actions and your beliefs in politics. And my track record and my passion as a Liberal Democrat over the last 30 years since I was a young Liberal campaigning against Section 28 back in the late 1980s, to just the other year when, as part of the Liberal Democrat team in government, we brought in equal marriage and supporting people's right to love who they love, to be who they are, to marry who they marry. That speaks for itself.
He has subsequently said, quotes, "I do not believe gay sex is a sin," but by goodness, it took him a while to get there. You're happy with that sort of leadership?
I think you're confusing his personal beliefs with his party policies. I'm sure you, as a solid Tory, don't necessarily espouse all
I'm not
Tory...
the leader of the party yet.
I think you have to allow him to have personal beliefs. And also, Nick, you're looking at me as if I've taken on and I've espoused 100 years of Liberal Party policy since Gladstone or whatever. You know, I haven't. I'm doing this for this election, on this policy and on one issue, and I'm glad you've given me another opportunity to make that clear.
Okay, I've now sat next to you for about a year here, on and off, you know, listening, and actually I think you fit the Liberals pretty well.
Thank you.
I do.
That's what Tim Farron said last week. He said it was a great addition to the team, which was a bit worrying. I didn't know I was on the team.
Are you going to campaign with Tony Blair? Because he's going to be campaigning with you guys. Are you going to come?
I thought
Is he campaigning with the Lib Dems?
He says so.
I think
he says he wants to.
I think he said he wouldn't.
He said he won't. No, he just said he wanted to 2 days ago.
The Lib Dems need all the help we can get, frankly.